Well, it is time to get your legal questions answered, and here to share his expertise, as always, is Attorney Jason Nicks. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Absolutely. And, of course, I want to remind everybody all that they have to do to get a question answered by this attorney is to go to our Facebook page, either KFDM's Facebook page or KBTV's Facebook page, and then just go ahead and put your question in, and we'll try to answer it the next time around. And, of course, the first question for today is, what is a no-refusal weekend?
Well, a no-refusal weekend is basically a weekend where law enforcement has decided to team the district attorney's office up with a judge who's volunteered his time on the weekend, and basically on a misdemeanor DWI, the only way they can get your blood is with your consent.
Okay.
But on a no refusal weekend, essentially they're having a judge standing by in case they want to do a warrant and have the judge sign off on it, so it's a quick process. Typically on misdemeanors, you're not going to have a lot of law enforcement agencies go get a judge up at midnight or 1 a.m. to sign a warrant. But on a no refusal weekend, it's usually something big going on. Like I know that they're having one for the Renaissance Festival in the Conroe area, usually on St. Patrick's Day, a time where a lot of people are going to go out and have some drinks. So usually have a no refusal day. So they've got a judge standing by waiting to sign warrants so that the process is very quick and they can get your blood without your consent.
Wow. Now, I don't know if you were able to answer this question, but the first thing that popped in my mind was, how can I find out if they're going to have one? Is that something that people can find out?
Sometimes it's publicized and sometimes it isn't.
Okay.
When I used to prosecute in Midland County, we didn't publicize our no refusal weekends. But a lot of times, a lot of counties, a lot of cities will, make that public. That way they hope to prevent people from going out and drinking and driving because they've let them know, hey, we're going to have someone standing by to sign off on your blood.
Okay.
So.
All right, well, good to know.
Yes.
All right, and the next question is, I want a divorce but can't find my husband to serve him even though I know he's still in the area. What can I do?
There's a couple of ways to do alternate service. If you know where his last residence was, you can have someone go by and attempt to serve him multiple times, and then they can sign an affidavit saying that that person is no longer there even though that's their last residence. But obviously their last residence was probably living with the wife.
Exactly.
So there is another way, another method. You could do service by publication by putting it in the newspaper, and so there's a way in the family code that you can specifically do that, so you can still serve them without physically handing them paperwork.
Interesting. Now, if you do put it in the paper, do you have to put it in a certain amount of times? Like you say, you have to serve someone at their old residence? Or?
Right. You can put it, there's a certain area for legal notices in the newspaper, and you need to give them proper notice before you go forward with the case and, publicize it, and that's all set forth in the family code. That's not a problem that typically comes up quite a bit, but it can happen if they didn't end on very good terms and they don't want to talk to each other and let them know where they're staying, and you're ready to go forward. So that's one way to handle that, is to publicize it.
Okay. I was pulled over for speeding last weekend out of town on business, and the cop asked to search my vehicle. Am I allowed to refuse his request?
The first thing that I would say with that question is never, ever let a cop have your consent to search a rental vehicle. You don't know who's driven in that vehicle.
Yes.
I mean, for all you know, it could have been a smuggler of some kind that has had that vehicle before.
Yeah.
That there could be anything hidden in compartments left over. If you're not in that vehicle on a regular basis, you don't know exactly who's been in there and what they've carried as their parcel, so to speak. So I would say absolutely refuse that. You always have the right to refuse that. And the only way they're going to be able to search is either with your consent, which obviously now you're going to refuse, or to have probable cause to search that vehicle. Especially if you're in a rental car, you should never let them search your vehicle with your consent. Now, obviously, if they have probable cause, they can still go in and search it at that point, but there's no sense in helping them if you're in a rental car. But even if it's not a rental car, you still have the right to refuse them to search your vehicle. And obviously, they can try to go ahead and do it if they have probable cause. If a court determines later on they never did, then it gets thrown out.
Absolutely. Now, kind of talk to us a little bit about probable cause. What would be a situation where, would it be something where out in the open where an officer can see it, or what exactly?
Well, for example, a lot of cases we have where we're dealing with like marijuana. If the officer smells burnt marijuana coming from the vehicle, that's enough probable cause to search the vehicle. So it depends on what the situation is, what the purpose of the probable cause is. But something like burnt marijuana, obviously, if they see firearms sitting out, something
Yeah.
in plain view, you're definitely going to have some kind of probable cause for a potential crime that's taking place.
All right, Attorney Nicks, thank you so much. And
Thank
as
you.
always, again, just go to our website if you'd like to have a legal question asked.